Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. This is Nick Luna with the Language Journey Podcast. Episode 9. What exactly is a language coach, and what does a language coach do? All right, I'm going to try to break it down as simple as possible. First of all, this is a relatively new thing. Coaching by itself is quite new, past 30 years, maybe 40. And then putting language teaching and language and coaching together makes it even more complex and even more new. So if you look online, you'll see that one of the definitions is basically somebody who is both a language teacher, who knows how to teach grammar, correct reading, pronunciation, all that stuff, plus something of a business coach or even life coach. So the next thing I'd like to point out is, sure, once you learn the language, the coach helps you to learn it and you speak it. But that's not enough. It's not enough to speak. The next challenge is to communicate well. So, in my view, that's where I spend most of my time with my coachees, helping people to be able to communicate well. Now, I've got a quote for you. Communication is something that is very misunderstood, or in fact, people think they understand it, but in fact, we're not actually doing it. So George Bernard Shaw said, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." So we often think that just because we say something, the other person is going to understand us exactly what we said or what we intended. And this is rarely the case. So what tools do we have at our disposal? Well, simplicity. That's a big one. And that's a big psychological obstacle as well, because people often think, especially in Latino countries, that complex language equals intelligence. And, well, everybody wants to sound intelligent, right? But here's something from Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize for behavioral economics and is a pretty smart guy. And he says, if you care about being thought credible and intelligent, do not use complex language where simpler language will do. And Tolstoy said, you should write as if you're explaining it to a curious 7-year-old. And in fact, when we look at the great literature, it's fun. People understand it because the writers did the work to explain themselves in a simpler way. Even Abraham Lincoln once wrote in a letter, please excuse me. Okay, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, please excuse me, or I'm sorry, I could not write a shorter letter. I did not have enough time. So it takes time to be concise, to be clear, and to write it in such a way that everybody can understand. But that's the art of communication, right? So, my aunt, Kathy, and my uncle Nevin, who are linguists, once said to me, grammar teachers are prescriptive and linguists are descriptive. This means that grammar teachers will teach you how things should be, and linguists tell you how things actually are. They say, the fact is that anything a native speaker says is grammatically correct. So, I teach from this point of view, and that thing that my aunt and uncle said to me has had a great impact on how I view language and how I view just the practicality of it, right? Because the people who come to work with me, they don't want to be language teachers. They want to be able to advance in their career, to communicate more effectively, to be understood and to understand others. And so I'm really, really practical. Actually, I've got to shout out to one of my favorite authors, somebody who's helped me quite a lot, and who actually replied to my email, even though he's a really famous writer. His name is Stephen Pressfield, and he wrote The War of Art, which I also highly recommend. And he also wrote another book called No One Wants to Read Your SHIT. And he's just laying it out very clear. The fact is, we have to think like advertisers. We have to do the work to make sure other people want to listen to us and understand what we say. So lots and lots of time during our lessons is dedicated, or our sessions, is dedicated to prosody, to writing better, to explaining ourselves more clearly, to the correct breathing as we read, and lots of tactical empathy negotiations, which, another shout out, Chris Voss and the Black Swan Group, amazing, and I think they've done so much for increasing clarity of communication that they really deserve a prize. So thank you so much. And you can check out his work in Never Split the Difference and, of course, the Black Swan Group. So, to sum it up, a language coach, at least in my view, is somebody that comes with you on your journey to first learn the language and then learn how to communicate more effectively. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening.